Thank you very much for staying with me in the studio, Sheik Aremeyaw, who's a spokesperson for the National Chief Imam. And I'm sure they don't just pick anybody off the mill to say, yeah, you won't be the spokesperson. You must stand the test of time. He's here to find out how it is that he stood the test of time. Sheik, thank you very much for coming.
Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Yes. And today it's a different sort of conversation. Normally it's always some big issue has happened and then that's it. Bring Sheik in to come and talk about it. Today we're talking about Sheik. So today you have 1 hour bragging rights. And Sheik has already congratulated me already.
Yes. Yeah. Congrats. And I join you in the excitement of the arrival of the Royal Princess. And I think it's a great something. I mean, from my faith angle and from my perspective of life, I mean, women are very important. They are important in the equation of human survival and existence. And if you remove them in the equation, the world of humanity becomes deficient. And that's why whenever such side of the human community arrives, we are so happy. Girls or women represent the affection and love of God. Yeah. And they represent also the element that brought perfection and completion to the human community. That's why when God created Adam, the world of man was incomplete. And that element of completion was found in a woman who was brought in. And so women are so important. And that's why I join you in the happiness and the joy.
Thank you. Well, this baby looks like a completion. I know, you should see her. She's a completion, yeah. But Sheik, let me take you all the way back to Sekondi.
Yeah.
Now, I know you were born in Sekondi. Even though, your maternal parents are from Upper East of Ghana.
Maternal
parents, and then the paternal parents are Nigerian. So what was happening in Sekondi? How did they meet there?
Well, my father lived under the tutelage of my great-grandfather, who happens to be the first Imam of Sekondi.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, in those days, if you were brought up by such religious and wise people, and they observed in you the light, sometimes they pick from their own children and give it to you as wife.
Okay.
So that's how come my mother was chosen by my great-grandfather and given to my father.
Okay.
My great-grandfather hailed from the northeastern part of this country. It's because they say he's a Grishi. And so my mother then also is a Grishi. Though I don't speak it. The paternal side was more dominant.
Okay.
And so I speak Hausa, but I don't speak the Grishi. And so that's how come it began.
Okay.
So it was almost like a family thing.
Okay.
And they got together. And then as life went on, my sibling, the first of our sibling was giving birth to now. In fact, she is in Nigeria, the northern part of Nigeria. Oh. The second one I followed directly, is also still in Nigeria. Okay. But they went back home during the 1969 Alien Compliance Order. And I'm the third, and I have remained in Ghana, and the one who comes after me is in Kofredwa now. So the two of us have remained in Ghana, and the two elder ones are in Nigeria.
I see. Are you still in contact?
We are in close contact.
Oh, okay.
They call, I call, they come down when there's an event, they come. They are expecting that one of these days I pay them a visit back home.
Okay.
Yes.
So obviously that was then trained then, so then he must have been educated?
Yes, education, if you take the education in broad sense of any process of socialization that makes one acceptable in society, that imbibes in the individual the skills for life and to be able to live in society and impact on society, then he was educated in the Islamic sense.
Okay.
My father was highly spiritual. My father had gone through the training to be able to read the Quran and to write it, to interpret. And in fact, I will say that I began studying the interpretation and jurisprudence of Islam from my own dad. Okay. Before then, he himself took me to some other senior scholars to be schooled over there. So he was an educated person,
Okay.
and his Islamic discipline was so strong that he imparted it on us. And he was, in quotes, the extreme type, like I told you some time ago, who did not even want me to go far into the Western-styled education. Mm. He understood education more from the Islamic perspective.
Okay.
Yeah. And so he emphasized that. So after finishing Form 4, I mean, he told me that he does not intend to make me go further, but that what he wants me to do is to grow and to become a disciplined and strong Muslim cleric.
He didn't trust the normal system could shape you.
Yeah, he didn't trust it because at the time, I mean, even before him, we've known how the Western formal education was tainted with Christian theology. And at the time, the facts are there. I mean, the formal education was more the objective was to also evangelize.
Sure.
Evangelize at the time. So once you went to the Western formal and Christian education, you could end up becoming a Christian of one faith or the other. And the results are there. I mean, people in the northern part of our country, I mean, found themselves to become Christians because, and so my father is one of those parents who was very suspicious, very suspicious. And in fact, he expressed it clearly. He didn't hide it of the Western formal education. My father sometimes got upset when he even saw you reading a daily graphic. He didn't understand why you will leave the Quran and read a magazine or read graphic.
Wow.
Yeah, he saw this one. In fact, he mentioned to me that these ones are worldly. But this one what takes you to eternal life. That's the way he says. So he sees he will discourage you from reading anything Western. Yeah.
So how did you manage to break out of Form 4 to carry on?
Yeah. You know, after Form 4, I finished Form 4 in 1973. 1973. And by God's grace, I happened to be brilliant. And my teacher saw it. My teacher saw it.
But you're still brilliant.
My teacher saw it. And so sometimes they have heard about how strict my old man was. And so they tried to come home and encourage him. And I remember what my Form 4 teacher told him that, well, if he would not allow me to go to secondary school, at least a training college would be okay. My father was not convinced. So after Form 4, indeed, I sergeant as a laborer in the central region of Ghana, specifically Commander, where we have the sugar factory. I was there as a laborer, as a casual laborer, but I was a driver's mate. Driver's mate.
The sugar factory was working there?
Yeah, sugar factory, yeah. Not the new one, but the old one, which is inside town.
Okay.
That's where I went, after Form 4, that's where I went and worked about, say, 3 seasons or so. And I belonged to the outgrowers department. And we were going to the bush to cut sugarcane and bring them. And so my role was a driver's mate. So if you saw me, in fact, now I'm very fat.
I see.
Yeah, so if you look at me today, I say I'm fat, and then you roll it back, then you can see I was so tiny. And yet, that was how I started. But after some 2 or 3 seasons, I came back home. And when I came back home, I taught as a pupil teacher in my alma mater, where I completed.
Okay.
That's my Arabic teacher at the time now decided to put me in his place, and then he left the scene. So I began teaching Arabic and Islamic studies in a more formal way, not that the Makaranta type.
Okay.
In a more formal, you to go on the blackboard, teach children, and I was teaching Islamic studies in English to the children. And together with that, I was also put on a roster list to alternate with my senior teachers who knew me to prepare Form 4 students for examination, the middle school leaving certificate examination. And I was helping them in mathematics and English.
Okay.
It was during the time that my senior colleagues, teachers themselves, thought I was wasting my time. and they insisted I should continue at least to the training college. Yeah, and there's a funny story. I remember when I applied and I was invited for examination, and we were going to enter into the hall for examination. I met one of the students I was teaching in Form 4. So she was a female. Just at the gate, when I was going to enter, she shouted, "Hey, sir!"
It is, I'm not coming for training.
Yeah, but it was, and so.
But how did they convince that?
It was a tussle in the house. At the time I passed and I intended to go, there was disagreement, I must confess. Wow. There was disagreement. So my father did not agree with me, but because I taught for some time, I was able to put by some money. And so I started on my own. I began the training course, but afterwards I proved to my old man that you can still go through this Western formal education and still remain a strong Muslim. So I maintained my Islamic discipline. During vacation, when I came home, I prayed as he wanted me to do. I had a discussion with him. He had taken me to some senior Islamic clerics to learn, and I never reneged. It was time. I went to study, and I came back home. Even as I was under the teacher training course, during vacation, I focused more on Islamic studies. I was studying Islamic jurisprudence from senior Islamic clerics. At the time, I had transferred to Takwa, where my father then was working as a teacher himself in Islamic studies. So studied. Then afterwards, he introduced me to another scholar in Sekendi, specifically in Kojokrom. Yeah. So during vacation, when I came to Sekendi, I walked from Sekendi Zongo to Kojokrom on the rail lines. Morning, I went and took my lessons, and then after late afternoon prayer, I walked back to Kojokrom to take my lessons and come back. And that's what I did until school reopened. Then I go back to Sekirioso, where I had my...
So he was happy now?
So then he was so happy. In fact, before I completed the training, he had been convinced. And I remember there were times I was working with him, and that was even after I had now entered into the university. Sometimes I walk with him, he meets some of his friends, but he can speak Fanti, like I can also speak. Yeah. Then when he meets some of his friends who are within the corporate body, then he would say, Ubanyo, or university.
He was not proud of it.
So before he passed on, I think that he was very proud of me.
Oh, good.
Yeah, before he passed on, he was very proud of me. He heard a lot about me, what I do. He saw me on television. He saw, sometimes he heard me preaching in his presence, and he was full of respect for me.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, that one I can assure you.
Wow, wow. But, Mom.
Yes.
Was she in support of Dad, neutral, or
yes,
behind the scenes encouraging?
Something unfortunate. My father and my mom divorced when we were very young.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So whilst I was a second year, I was under the care of my grandmom.
Okay.
Yeah. My mom got married to another person in Accra here. So in that marriage, some of my other siblings were born. In fact, they're in Accra. We are all the time together. There's one of them we call Yusuf, who is an attendant and a confidant of the Deputy National Chief Imam. He takes care of him, and he's known very well in Nima there. So for Mom, we did not get that direct contact, but we were rather more with Grandma. Then when I grew up, I had a deep and strong sense that I have a mother. So I never forgot my mom. Anywhere I traveled, sometimes I traveled after I had qualified as a teacher, my first station was in Techiman, where I taught before I got transferred to Kumasi to come and teach in the Ahmadiyya school. Then later I taught also at the Ahmadiyya Senior Secondary School at the time, before I came back to Accra. And anywhere I traveled, I made sure during vacation I came to Accra here and looked for my mom. And I found her, and I stayed with her for some time. And then finally when I got back to Accra here, then she was in Accra. So all the time I have been with her. That is when I also had a sense of you know, the warmth of my mom gave me confidence that there's a woman that I can point my finger at. This is my mom. Yeah, though she did not play a role in how I was brought up.
Okay.
Yeah, my stepmom did that a lot, and she's currently alive, and she's been entrusted to us by my dad, who has passed on, and I cherish her a lot.
Did stepmom like sort of disagree with that? Oh, you know, Alhaji, calm down, let the boy go to school. Or he'll come to you and say, look, listen to your dad, forget about all this schooling business and let's do Arabic.
Stepmom was very supportive, very caring, understood me. And sometimes she had to step in between me and the old man. Yeah. My old man happened to be, I call him a strict disciplinarian of the extreme type. He wanted to see everything about you. I mean, there are times when, you know, in the Muslim community, we are more social and communal. So we go to a certain, for example, event, and when they bring the food, and the food we eat collectively. I mean, it's a big bowl, you know, and we all ended by sizes. I mean, and the hands find its way in the this thing. I can observe sometimes my old man, as we sit down, when he just be with the elders, but that he'll be watching, and sometimes he will make a certain sharp indication to me. Get up. So even though I want to eat, I will leave the scene. Yeah, and I think in that sense, he was training me, you know, to learn how to behave in public. You don't, somebody who is growing, you don't come and when you see food, you eat voraciously. You don't have a sense of decency even around table. I mean, you are there, and yeah. So he was so much particular about that. Now that is the extent to which my old man, when my stepmom, you know, at adolescence, one of the characteristics that you eat a lot.
Of course, you grow.
You eat a lot, and my stepmom was so generous with food, so generous to the children of my old man. Yeah, so sometimes when she put in the huge fufu with the soup on it, if my old man is passing by and he saw that we've taken our food and we were just two young men, I mean, growing at the time, just two of us, but if you see the size of the fufu, then my old man would shout, say, "You are spoiling these children. You're spoiling. How can two people be given such a food?" And my stepmom would say, "Malam, dear children, let them eat. Let them eat." You know, softly she will, yeah. And so in points of disagreement, she comes in. Sometimes what she does, knowing how my father, so strict, I must add that he was also temperamental, yeah. Then what she does is to advise me to go to any of his close colleagues whom he respected so much. Yeah. So I go there and narrate the story. There's a problem. My old man says that. And then this elderly man will lead me back. And that is the advice of, and when she did so, what she did was to teach me how to respect my old man. Not to openly disagree with him and show humility. And I think that it's a training that I have imbibed and I cherish so much. So I have great respect for elderly people. That's why if I cringe if I watch discussions in politics. If I watch young people sitting on television and they say things about elderly people who can become like their fathers, I shake. I look at their ages, like for example, because of politics, you find somebody who is about, say, let's say in his 30s, for example, we look at like, say, let's say somebody like the former president or the current president, for example, who is in his 70s. In fact, somebody who is getting to his late 20s.
It's giving it to him left, right, and center. He's a liar. He's a liar.
I mean, without any excuse. And I think that's why education actually is not the book that we learn.
Yeah.
I mean, you have even your in quotes, you know, Efie Nyansan.
Yeah.
Efie Nyansan. Yes. And the Fantis, when I lived with the Fantis, there's some funny things that they say, and I love using it a lot. You see, when you have gone to school and you don't have sense of decency, you don't have regard and respect for the elderly, and you are not well guided. Now they have the way they put it. They will say, "Oh, Kojo, oh, school de akobi ayaze, oh, ayaze ako ni ma aye." Now, if you answer the nibi, oh, if you answer the nibi, no school de ako ni ma aye. This is what family that is well grounded in values and decency give to us, which classroom education will not be able to give us. Yeah. And I think that combination is very, very critical. And my stepmom did that so much, especially as she intervened between myself and my.
So after training college, which university did you go?
Legon.
Legon.
Yes. After training college, I was posted to Techiman in the Brown Half region, then taught for some time there. Then I came back to Kumasi in the Shanto region. Then afterwards, finally I landed in Accra.
Now, when you were going to Legon, I mean, did you know you were going to come out and be this big Muslim cleric, or you were entering Legon to say, look, I'm going to stay within my teaching field, or what was the ambition there?
I must confess to you that I didn't have any ambition, but I loved education. Yeah, but where it would take me to, I wasn't sure. And you know, I didn't do degree directly. I started with a diploma in the study of religions. And you know what? It is important to understand that in your life, you must have mentors, and in your associations, you must be able to identify people who can inspire you. And I tell young people, be careful those you associate with. They can either draw you back or they can push you ahead. There's one great brother, a Muslim. We were together at Takwa. He happened to be a very brilliant gentleman at Legon. And just because I knew he was there, when I came to Accra, I visited him. Yeah. And I didn't go to the secondary school. I went to the training college. So even my qualification to enter into the university, yeah, there was a gap there. Yeah. Then I visited him at the university, and he told me, you know what, there is this mature, you know, exams that you can do, and you can gain entry. Even if you don't do that, there are diploma courses which you can do. You apply, they will call you for interview. Yeah. So when he told me that, he guided me as to how to do it, and quickly I applied. And when I applied, immediately I got the admission, and I started. And I see, and in my life, I'm saying I am a product of a conglomerate of influences, including Christian. Yeah. You see, most of the teachers who have influenced me, even when I was as a pupil teacher, were Christians. At the training college, those who taught me were Christians. There was no Muslim who taught me, and I hold them in high esteem. But I got a feel of a Christian love and care and inspiration when I got to the university. And there are two Christians who taught me, and that is not to discriminate against my Muslim teachers also. In fact, they did very well. But I'm using it because I'm emphasizing the Christian side of my upbringing.
Okay, yeah.
You know, even the training college I attended was it's an Anglican training college. So when I meet Anglicans bishops, I tell them, you trained me. And they are shocked. They get shocked. I say, Bishop, you know, you trained me. Yeah, they invite me to the church to give a talk to teachers at the Anglican Education Unit, for example. Yeah, and my introductory remark, I tell them that,
you trained me.
I mean, you trained me. Yeah, and there's a Methodist priest who also happened to be an intellectual, so he was a lecturer, and that is, I mean, now he's a Professor Reverend Joshua Kudaji, and then we have Professor Elom Devolo. These two Christian lecturers made a great impact in my life, in my academic pursuit. They contributed, making me pursue and enjoy what it means to be intellectual. Yeah. Their objectivity. Yeah. I remember Professor Kudaji studying philosophy of religions, for example. In philosophy of religions, there are a lot of arguments. Those arguments can be very devastating to your faith, especially argument for and against the existence of God. And Reverend Kudaji was the one who was introducing us to that. And sometimes when we got in some of the very sharp and very difficult, then a very caring, and he's a theologian himself. And when he saw our face that we were feeling disturbed, then he told us, no, you keep your faith.
don't shred it yet.
Yeah. But I think that was when actually my intellectual prowess began taking shape. Yeah. I would say almost all my teachers at the university, liked me for what I do. At the university, I was just a cleric for the students.
Okay.
Because I had come to the university already stuffed with some Islamic knowledge. So virtually I was the student imam.
Okay.
So anytime the senior imams were not there, I mounted the pulpit. In fact, I was a preacher. I was an organizer. I became, in terms of organization, I became the local secretary of the Muslim Students Organization on the campus. I rose to become the national president of the Muslim Student Association at the time. So all these things were part of the training and the process that were bringing out some of the potentials I had in me. Talking in public was taking place because I was preaching all the time. I was organizing. I was giving lectures and so on. In discussions, tutorials, when we met discussions, I was very vocal to espouse how I understood lessons that had been given to us. And I can say the lecturers respected my views. I remember once, even in the early days at the university, our lecturer who was teaching us comparative study of religion, he begins by teaching us all the Eastern religions, beginning with Buddhism, Hinduism, then Buddhism. Then he brings us down to Christianity. Then he now takes us Islam, then Christianity. And each one of them, when he is teaching, you think that he is one of that. If Professor Elam Dovlo is teaching you about Hinduism, you think he's a Hindu. But meanwhile, he is a Christian minister. He's a reverend. If he's teaching about Buddhism, you think he's a Buddhist. And he came home, he talks to you about Islam. So in one such lessons, was talking about Islamic belief, about monotheism, and he asked the question, who can now tell us, Islamic monotheism, what are the attributes of God? And I raised my hand up and I say, well, our belief is that Allah, He is one. He is eternal in the future and eternal in the past. He is dissimilar to any of His creatures. I began saying those. The class was so quiet, and he was also looking at me, and I noticed then he spoke to the class. You are looking at me, you are not writing what he's saying.
Let me take a quick break here and come back. See why I got him in? Very good. Don't stay back. Along the line somewhere, Sheik also lost his wife. Now, must be a big blow for anyone. Yes. And we'll talk about it. Don't go away. Well, thank you very much for staying. And this is from Superintendent, now Superintendent Freeman Tete, who says that Sheik was my mate at University of Ghana. We are the Department of the Study of Religions, yeah. Classmates. He's a fantastic guy, he says. Freeman, thank you very much for tuning in. But Sheik, was it last year or last 2 years that we had this unfortunate, demise of Must be a big blow. How many kids? 3?
Yeah, we have 3 kids. One has completed Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology. He's currently doing his service at Tema. And the second one just completed, just graduated from Legon.
Okay.
Yeah, and we are left with the girl who is just strong in my heart. Yeah, she's preparing she has applied and she's waiting for her admission, whether tech or University of Ghana.
I mean, as a Muslim, you're allowed to marry. So have you got other wives that are helping you with?
No, I try to understand what the Quran tells me, not so much of how somebody interprets it. Marrying more than one, according to my understanding, in Islam, it is not a compulsion but an option. So you have a choice, and that choice is an exercise of your discretion, with each discretion there is a responsibility. That's why the Quran says you must evaluate yourself whether you are able to assume that responsibility. If you cannot, he says, marry just one. So I have remained with my wife since we got married, and I must confess on this television that I did not make it my intention to add a second wife.
Wow.
Just by my own understanding.
Wow.
Yeah, and we have had a very fantastic life together.
Oh, I don't know how you went through it, but if there's somebody watching who's also been through, I mean, how do you go through such news, or such, what is the?
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know if it's a secret or what's the plan.
I mean, you mean the loss?
Yeah, how do you deal with it?
Yeah, I mean, you know, Islamic faith teach us that things that happen around us are under the control of God. So when they happen to you, you surrender. And for us, that is even what gives us the calmness of our mind and the calmness of our heart. And so when it happens, usually what is expected of the Muslim to say, any misfortune that happens to you, say, Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. That we are from Allah, and unto Him is our return. In other words, we don't even own ourselves. So He gives it to you, and He takes it from any time that He wants it. And once you have this understanding, you just surrender. And that's why in Islam, when you even lose a relative, any significant person in your life, when it happens, you maintain your calmness. Yeah, you can grieve, all right, but there's a limit to which you can go. And sometimes you might even give thanks to Him. Allah, this is what you have decided. Thank you for that.
Wow.
And that gives you. So actually when it happened, yeah, my wife's colleagues who are nurses who came there, they were shocked. Yeah, in the heat of the news, yeah, I must confess, I broke down. Yeah, but briefly, and then so they came and they were shocked. I mean, they could see we were calm. They were asking me questions, I will answer. Sometimes they come, they were wailing, and I will just be consoling them. So it's okay. Yeah, it's all right. Yeah, they have very close colleagues who come, they wail. You can see, they feel they've lost somebody. Yeah, and one day were with me at the mortuary. Everything was done, you know, and then they requested, oh, Sheikh, and they know that we don't delay.
Yeah.
So they requested, oh, so can't we, you know, pass to the hospital with her colleagues? You know, I said, oh, no problem. Yeah, we will allow that. Yeah, except that we will not expose her because at the time we hadn't prepared her.
Okay.
Yeah, so we went there. He came. He requested a Muslim cleric to come and say a prayer. They were wailing. I mean, even patients. I mean, yeah. And there was a place she did her part time also. They
she
also
was a midwife,
requested.
right?
Oh, she was a midwife.
Right.
Yeah. And if you listen to me on your wife's program, I keep on repeating that I'm a beneficiary of the companionship of an educated woman. I'm a beneficiary, yes, of that. And that's how I cherish educated women are value addition to family life. That is, if they understand what it means for them to be in a family life, in other words, not the education that bloats their ego and make them feel that they also are an authority within the family. In our religion, the man is the leader of the family. He is the leader. But he's a leader who guides, not the leader who punishes, the leader who disrespects. No. Yeah. I mean, so she really brought value, to the family. So we went to her while she was doing her part-time also. We allowed, for them to see, and a pastor there who said some prayer. I mean, before then, finally we went home, and we quickly had to prepare her for burial. And in all these things, we tried hard to maintain the calmness.
Wow.
The people came there, and sometimes
I know you're very close to your children too.
Very, very,
yes,
very.
I know you're very, very close to your children. But Hajj, I know it's Hajj now. Now, can anybody go to Hajj at any time, or there's a specific time that you can do a Hajj?
Oh, Hajj is an obligation, and it's one of the pillars of Islam. Yeah, but it's seasonal.
Okay.
It's seasonal, and it happens during the last month of the Muslim. That is the 12th month of the Muslim calendar. We call it Zulhijjah. Okay. So, for example, now Muslim world, those who can afford are preparing to go. So we are in that month, and we are waiting for the specific date, the actual ritual to take place. And then that's why now we find them even in Ghana, though we hear there's a little hitch, but I'm sure they will resolve it.
I know it's too politicized, and you probably don't want to dabble too much in it. But is there a way that we can simplify it so that, planes come and go every day. It's only the Hajj plane that always doesn't turn up, or I don't know.
I have expressed a lot of reservations. The reason for which, with one particular government, I'm associated with opposition, then that opposition will come, and then I'm associated with, because I have expressed opinions, and I stand by those opinions. If I ever have an opportunity and I'm invited to say, oh, come and share the opinions, I will express those opinions. I think that it is wrong that we have politicized the Hajj. It is wrong. And that those who do so are Muslim elements within the political parties. Yeah. The Hajj is an institution which is exploited politically. And sometimes they give a certain impression as if government is sponsoring Muslims to go on Hajj. I say here with all authority, it is untrue. The government does not. Does not. Every Muslim pays a fare of $3,450. Every single Muslim who is going, except those that the parties have decided to sponsor. And sometimes when they do so, they do not even pay. And they create indebtedness to the Hajj management body. And then sometimes there's mismanagement, sometimes there's embezzlement in it. There's no accountability. Yeah. And these are the strong views that I hold. Yeah. And not until we have, even if government comes in, I think it must be transparent. Look, for example, whoever is giving the Hajj to manage, we must understand the basis. For example, is it on contract? If it's on contract, how much is the contract? For how many years? We must understand this. If he needs to be paid, let him be paid. If it's sacrificial, let's know clearly, so he doesn't touch anything. There must be a board, there must be a supervision. Somebody who, and then the transparency aspect of it, proper management, keeping records that will have, institutional memory of how things have worked, for the future. It's resources, So this year, for example, between 5,000 and 6,000 pilgrims will go. Now, if each one is paying $3,450, if you multiply, you can imagine this.
Thousands, yeah.
So I insist that you don't give this sum of money to any group of individual and there's no accountability.
No.
Yeah. And the politicization got to its peak probably in the former regime, where a president used a political fiat, executive fiat, to appoint a sole commissioner, a sole chairman, and gave it to him that he decides to do. We have seen a repeat of it in this under this regime also. Yeah. So therefore, Hajj has become political. And once it's political, you express your opinion and you are in trouble.
All too soon time is about to... what would you say, some encouraging words for young Muslims? Because, I admire you a lot. And I always say, why don't I see you out there? Because some of the people I see out there, then if you are Muslim, then they cannot be Muslims. Then they cannot be Muslims. So, I mean, ending, what are some of the notes we can put out there to inspire the young ones coming up? Yeah,
truly, our young people in the Muslim community, I will not say Zongo community, but within the Muslim community, they need a lot of encouragement and inspiration.
Mentors too?
They need mentors. You see, look, in life, and I insist, even at my level, I have mentors in my life. Academic and intellectual mentors, and spiritual mentors, moral mentors, they are there. And at my age, and I got retired from public service just in January. Yeah. So when I meet people, I say, well, I'm now a senior citizen. Now, as I grow now, I can see, even if you look at my children and if I look at how they are growing, so it means truly. And I can tell you, I'm an inspiration to my own children. Yeah, when I sit with them, we converse, and because they see what I do, they feel inspired. And there are quite a good younger Muslims who, but that it's not enough. It's not enough. We need to create, critical minds of people who will grow in future and to take leadership when we fade away. In that regard, I think we have not done very well. I must confess, we've not done very well. And it's just this morning I was discussing with somebody. I was invited by some young people to Bimbla. I said, well, I'm engaged. I'm not able to go, but I want to see what I can do.
All too soon. That's what time will allow us. Sheik Aremeyaw, you can say for yourself, I don't need to say much. But, hey, Monday we're back to do this all over again. But after News File tomorrow, on Saturday, it's a News File on Saturday, it will be repeated, and sit home and then relax. But thank you very much, Sheik, for giving us the order. It's been a pleasure. To you at home again, thank you very much.